Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Okay, who will read Mangalacharan prayers? Haribol.
I want to read, Prabhu.
Haribol, yes, Prabhu, you can read. Here is not
Okay.
written, but usually it starts with 3 times Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Then it begins from here.
Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanachmilandasya Gananjala Shalakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swaya Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shilada Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Visakam Vitam He Krishna Kaluna Sindhu Jinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namustute, Tapta Kansala Golangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Visabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyayivacha Pachitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nichinamine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Goravani Placharine Nirvishesha Shunyavaji Pashatya Dishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhu. That was very nice.
Thank you. Hare Bol.
Okay, so today we continue with chapter 9 and we begin from text number 7. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpadau Visrajam Aham. Sarva Bhutani, all created entities. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Prakritim, nature, Yanti, enter, Mamikam, unto me, Kalpakshaye, at the end of the millennium, Punaha, again, Tani, all those, Kalpadau, in the beginning of the millennium, Vishrajami, I create, Aham, I. Translation. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency I again create. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material cosmic manifestation is completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. At the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years, and his one day is calculated at 4.3 trillion. Is it trillion or is it 4.3 trillion? I'm not good with numbers, but I think it's 4.3 trillion for earthly years. Oh no, this one day, I think it's 4.3 billion. Because the whole life is 311 trillion years, so this must be billion then. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. Then again, when there is need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism. He expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. Prakritim svamavashtabhya vishrajami punah punah bhuta gramam imam krishnam avasham prakriter vashat. Prakritim, material nature. Text number 8. Swam of my personal self, avashtabhya, enter in, vishrjami, create, punaha, punaha, again, bhutakramam, all these cosmic manifestations, imam, this, krishnam, total, avasham, automatically, prakrite, by the force of nature, pashat, under obligation. Translation. The whole cosmic order is under me. By my will, it is manifested again and again, and by my will, it is annihilated at the end. Purport. This matter is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as Mahatattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. Yes, somewhere in Bhagavatam it is said that first there is this Mahatattva, and then the super soul enters, and then it takes the form of universal form, of Virat Purush, after the super soul has entered the Mahatattva. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Karbodakashai Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Kshirodakashai Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything. Even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature. And as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of life beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created. Because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly stated here that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by His will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and after creating different species of life, He has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. Hare Krishna. Okay, who wants the next verse?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Na cha matani karmani nirbhadanti dhananjaya udasinavadasinam masaktam teshu karmasu. Na, never, cha, also, mam, me, tani, all those, karmani, activities, nibadhanti, bind, dhananjaya, O conqueror of riches, udashi, udashinvat, as neutral, ashinam, situated, ashaktam, without attraction, teshu, in them, karmasu, in activities. Translation. O Dhananjaya, all this work O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached, seated as through neutral. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead as has no engagement. In his spiritual world, he is always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita stated he is always involved in his eternal blissful spiritual activity, but he has nothing to do with his material activities. Material activities are being carried on by his different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is explained here, although he has control over every minute details of matter, he is sitting as if in neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his orders, so many there are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth, but still he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all their gains and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is stated that he is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental of these dualities, nor he is attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different form in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord does not interfere with them. मयद्धक्षेण प्रकृति सूयते च सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगदीपरिवर्तते. Maya, by me, Adhyakshena, by superintendence, Prakriti, material nature, Suyate, manifests, Sa with, Sarcharacharam, moving and non-moving, Hetuna, for this reason, Anena, this Kontaya, O son of Kunti, Jagat, the cosmic manifestation, Vimar, Vimarvate, is working. Translation: this material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and this is product, producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, the manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Purport. It is clear stated here that Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the supreme director. The Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also stated in Bhagavad Gita that all living entities in different form and species, I am the father. The father gives seeds to the womb for the mother or for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of Mother Nature, and they come out of their different forms and species according to their last desire and activities. All the living entities, although born and under the clans of the Supreme Lord, still take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply clans our material nature. Material nature, this is the mm, activities part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material body. But the example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person. Yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he is created by his glance and audience. In summary, material nature without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do anything. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. One straight next. Yeah, this is nice one. Yes, bro.
अव्यज्ञानन्ति मां मूढा मनुष्यं तनुम् आश्रितं परं भावम् अजन् अनन्तो
Mama Bhuta.
अनन्तो मम मुक्ता महेश्वरम्. Little okay. Okay. Avijayananti deride me, mudha, foolish men, manushim in a human form, tanum, body, ashritam, unassuming, prana, param, transcendental, bhavam, nature, ajananta, not knowing, mam, mean, bhuta, everything that me, maheshwaram, supreme proprietor. Translation: fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that we. purport. From the other explanation of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, it is not a common man. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilations of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishvaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some of official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is sorry, bro. Network issues. Uh, each of them, each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Brahma Krishna, and his body is Sachidananda, non-material. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is a although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called her Manusim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Sachidananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Sachidananda Rupaya Krishnaya obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam ekam govindam. You are Govinda, pleasure of the senses and the cows. Sachidananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, it's full bliss and knowledge. There are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Shri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Muda, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications. They deride him, nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his eternal energy. He is the master of the sorry. He is the master of the material energy. Has has been explained in several places. Mamaya Drudaya Dru, Dru, sorry Drutaya Mamaya Drutaya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control. She's under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrender to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, they how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, however, material body like us, so cannot conceive. Sorry. So these conceptions of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, okay, foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of God, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The best and the mutest are behind their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of the human being can simultaneously control. That one, no problem. Okay. Simultaneously, simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaryam is inconceivable transcendental energy that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite, and the finite. Those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies amongst the impersonalists and the personalists about the Krishna, about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative text for understanding the sense of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages inquire about the activities of Krishna, it is stated that his appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed well. He was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands, but after the words of the parents, prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. His appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of the Gita, also it is stated, uh, Ten Aiva Rupena, etc. Arjuna prayer to see again that form of 4 hands. And when Krishna was those petitioned, petitioned by Arjuna, he again assumed his original form. All these different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna, who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy, quote the following verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutam bhu- bhutmavastitha sadha sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. Bhagavatam 3.29.21. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharya like Jiva Goswami instead of following the interpret, interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in this plenary expansion, as Paramatma, he is situated in the moving and the non-moving entity has the super soul. So any nipoti devotee who simply gives his attention to the achara murti, archa murti, Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple and Lord in the temple and does not respect and other living entities is useless worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Jiva Goswami wants that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Therefore, everybody is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord, and as such, as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and everybody in whom the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, he's he not in the temple or in the deity. Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee is in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality, he is all prevailing, has been confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, although his personal abode in Goloka, Vrindavana, and he is always staying there. Still, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Haribo.
Ribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
May I continue, or who wants to continue?
Yes, Prabhu. You can, if
I want to
no
read.
one else wants to read, then okay.
हरे
I want
कृष्ण
to read.
प्रभु धन्यवाद प्रणाम जय श्री राम
Ganga Prabhu.
Haribo. Prabhu,
हरे कृष्ण
Ladak Pranam
प्रभु
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
I will continue प्रभु
Okay, Prabhu.
Oh, Haribo.
हरे कृष्ण विवेक प्रभु धन्यवाद जय श्री राम
Hare Krishna
मोग
Prabhu,
शाम
Ladak Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada.
मोग
Hare Krishna.
शामोग कर्माणो मोग ज्ञाना विचेतसः रक्षसीनं आसुरीं चैव प्राकृतिं मोहिनीं स्त्रियः मोगसः baffled hope मोग कर्मणाः baffled in fruitive activities मोग ज्ञानाः baffled in knowledge विचेतसः bewildered Rakshasim, demoniac, Asurim, atheistic, Cha, and Eva, certainly, Prakritim, nature, Mohinim, bewildering, Striya, Svitaha, taking shelter of, Those who are thus those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their future activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service going back to Godhead will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from the material entanglement will never be successful, either because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demoniac or atheistic, as described in the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Such demoniac miscreants can never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at that absolute truth bring them to the false conception that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by the material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. His attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the vindication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedic literature like the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad is always baffled. It is great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. In Brihad Vaishnava Mantra, it is clearly stated that one who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti. And if by chance sees his face, he should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of injection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of the atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. Text 13. महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा बुद्धित्वदन्यदम् अव्ययम्. Mahatmana, the great souls, too, but Mam unto me, Partha, O son of Pruta, Daivam, divine, Prakritim, nature, Asritaha, taken shelter of, Bhajanti, render service, Ananya Manasa, without deviation of the mind, Gnatva, knowing, Bhuta, creation, Adim, original, Avyayam, inexhaustible. Translation. O son of Pruta, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a supreme personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport. In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of the material nature. And how is this affected? This is explained in the seventh chapter. One who surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivim Prakritim, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two armored form of Krishna. Since they are not attracted to the other features of Krishna, what to speak of the demigods? They are not concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They only meditate upon Krishna and Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unwavering service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Text 14.
Oh, wait, Prabhu, 1 second. Let's see how long this is. Very short. Okay, let's read 2 more verses and then we can go to the Sastakam prayers.
Yes. Can I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Haribol.
Satatam kirtayanto mam drudasvat. Satatam kirtayanto mam nitantascha drudavratah. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Satatam, always. Kirtayantah, chanting. Mam, me. Yatantascha, fully enduring also. Drudavratah, with determination. Namasyantascha, offering obeisances. Mam, unto me. Bhaktya, in devotion. Nitya yukta, perpetually engaged. Upasate, worship. Translation. Always chanting my glories, enduring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of when the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal future of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmajyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, and remembering him. Such Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadasi, and on the appearance day of the Lord, etc. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatma, this great soul, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, this devotional service is not only easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or as sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus makes him actually Mahatma, a great soul.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Gyani Prabhu, do you want to read the last verse? This one.
If I can, yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Yana yagena chapi anye yajanto mam upasate ekat vena pritak vedomkam yana yagya by cultivation of knowledge. Cha also certainly anye others yajantaha worshipping mam me upasate worship ekadvena in oneness, pritakvena in duality, bahuda diversity, Vishvataha Mukham in the universal form. Translation. Others who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, diverse in many, and in the summary of the previous verse. The Lord tells Arjuna those who are knowing about anything about Lord Maha, other person who excuse me is a little slow.
Yes, Prabhu.
Are not exactly in the
Oh, now
position
it's
of
good.
Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them are already described as the distressed, the financially destitute, and the in the cultivation. But he who worship himself as one with Supreme Lord, he who concoct some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, and he who accepts the universal form, the Vishvarupa, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking with themselves to be the monist, are most predominant. Such people sees also a type of God worship, for they can understand that sorry, they can understand. Such people think themselves to be the supreme Lord, and this mentality they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not this material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class include the worshipper of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form. The third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They can consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity, and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, now we need to go to 6 Astakam prayers. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreyah kairavachandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vichayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निजसर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवं मीदृशं वैजनीननुग्रहा
Trinadapi Sunichena, Talolapi Saishnuna, Hamani Namanadina, Kirtanya Sada Hari.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि.
ऐनन्दनतनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मामे विषमे भवं बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलि श्रदश्रं सिदर्शरं विचिन्तयाम्
नयनं गलदश्रुदयला वदनं गद्गदरुद्धया गिला पुलकयनिश्चितं वपुकदा तव नामग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगा इतं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविश्य इतं शून्य इतं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्य वा पदारतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा ददातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनात्सतु स एव न प्राह
Haribol. Translation. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Report.
Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and those who you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these whole names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than all sense of false prestige, and one should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharajananda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the autumns at your lotus feet.
Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will my hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know, I know no one but Krishna has my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his employees or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Haribol.
Ribol Sri Siksastakam Ki Jai. Okay, now we read
Jai.
10 offenses quickly.
Okay.
Read this here. Okay, one by one. First, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second one, to consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu.
3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance to the Vedic version.
Eighth one, to consider the glories of the chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
6. To give some interpretation to the hope of the Lord.
7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Yeah, this is
Eighth one.
be done.
Okay. Eighth one, to consider the chanting of the Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda.
9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10. To not have a complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Haribo, Sri Siksastakam ki jai, Harinam
Haribol.
ki jai, Panchatattva ki
Jai.
jai, Nityananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai, Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Nitai Gaura
Jai.
Jai.
Haribo.
Haribol.
कृपा सिन्धुभ्याय
Pranam Pavaneभ्यो Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu,
Thank you
for
so
your
much for the
association.
presentation and nice reading session. Haribo.
Hari Bol.
Thank you
See
so
you
much,
tomorrow.
Haribol. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.